Good morning. Welcome to week 11 of business ethics. Really proud that we're at this point in the semester. I know this isn't impacting this class as much because it's online only, but I'm sure a lot of you are also taking on-campus and in-person classes. So that means this is week 11 and we're going through week 14 as far as on campus. We'll have a couple weeks after that after Thanksgiving break online, but we're about 11 out of 14, actually 13 and a half weeks through our on-campus experience. And as of last week, Dr. Jagger was saying still only had about 3 positives. That's actually down from what probably our average has been. So we keep moving in the right directions. I think it looks like we're going to get through this semester 100% on campus. And to the point of this class, that took a lot of business ethics to pull off, to be real honest with you. It was a tremendous feat. A lot of universities didn't even choose to open up on campus this semester, and some opened up briefly and closed back down, and some have been open and closed and open and closed. So the fact that we're about to pull this off, at least what it appears at this point, I think that's something to be very, very proud of for this organization, this institution, and for all of you as students and the faculty and staff. So let's celebrate that and enjoy that moment. Still have a serious situation that we've got to manage and watch, but I'll get back on time next semester and pull this off again in the spring. Okay, today we're going to talk about Chapter 11, or ethical leadership. This is kind of at the core of business ethics. If you are looking for an organization to join and you're looking for an organization to be a part of and have your career be a place to park your career and your goals in life, you should be looking for a leader that is ethical. It's all important. So we're going to look at some of the components of that today and what makes that happen and what makes that work. Ethical leadership is defined as the ability to create an ethical culture by motivating employees and enforcing organizational policies and norms. Involves helping employees implement shared ethical values and supporting others in incorporating an ethical culture into their daily decisions. So that's a great definition, and I agree with it. And ethical leadership obviously plays into that. But one thing I would just note early on, and I may have used this phrase before, but I can't emphasize it enough. You can teach people as much as you want to teach them about ethics, and you can have classes, you can have seminars, you can make edicts in your organization and dictates and anything you want to do. But when it comes to organizational ethics and ethical leadership, it's pretty much, in many ways, garbage in and garbage out. I'm not saying you can't move the needle some with people. I definitely believe that you can get people thinking about ethics more and understanding ethical frameworks and groundwork more. But if you have unethical people in an organization, if you have an unethical leader of an organization, and that's what they choose to be, you're probably not going to have an ethical culture in an organization. So that's why you need to look at people in an organization. You need to look at the norms, you need to look at the culture. I'm not saying they can't move some, but if you have a snake pit or a viper pit in an organization and it's led by, a charlatan or a false prophet and a leader, you're probably not going to see that move much. And that's why when you interview for jobs and you look at career changes, it needs to be a two-way interview. You need to really do some research on the organizations that you're thinking about being a part of. Some of the strong characteristics of a strong ethical leader: they have strong personal character. They have a passion to do the right thing. They're proactive. They consider all stakeholders' interests. Ethical leaders are role models for the organization's values, so they model what they say the organization should be doing. Ethical leaders are transparent and actively involved in decision making. And ethical leaders take a holistic view of the firm's ethical culture. Now, all of that wrapped into a person probably builds and presents a strong ethical leader. Now, as we've seen many times before, there can be folks that appear to be all of this on the outside, but there are things behind them that behind the facade that don't necessarily show up to the average person. And we find out at times that people disappoint us, they betray us, they betray our trust. Well, that's part of the thing. That's part of the deal. You know, you're going to have that every once in a while. Now, how can you avoid that? You have to understand that all of this fits in a big package. And if you start seeing chips in that package and you start seeing things that don't match up, things that don't quite fit, then that's when you start second guessing and questioning a little bit. And you have to look out for your own interests and try to make sure that you are in truly a good organizational structure. Now, being an ethical leader doesn't necessarily equate that you're always going to be popular, because ethical leaders have the same challenge as any leader, and that is balancing stakeholder interests. You can be a wonderful leader, you can be a great ethical leader, and there may be people, if you're having to downsize organizations or you're having to make some tough calls in organizations, closing stores or laying off personnel or things like that, that you're doing to take care of the largest number of stakeholders. There may be people at times that are not real pleased with you. And there may be people at times that curse your name and that that really are not maybe going to have as much good to say about you. It doesn't mean you're not ethical. That just means that you had to make some tough calls, and that's part of leadership too. Is you gotta run the organization in good times and in bad, and sometimes in bad, you have to make some tough calls, but you still want to do everything within an ethical framework. The benefits of ethical leadership: it impacts the corporate culture, enhances ethical behavior patterns, leads to employee satisfaction and commitment, creates strong relationships with external stakeholders, and it can impact the long-term market evaluation of the firm. One of the benefits personally that I would highlight that we saw, I felt like we ran a very good and ethical business by and large. I know it was an important thing for us, and we had a mission statement, we had a culture that we were very proud of. I felt like one of the benefits for us, even though we were a 50-year business when we sold the company, I think some of the biggest benefits of ethical leadership and an ethical organization came about when we sold the firm. As is often the case in situations like that, sometimes it's really difficult to keep that under wraps. And it was extremely difficult for us because the firm that was purchasing us had to get in and be able to see buildings, assets. They had to be able to have preliminary meetings with people. So it was necessary for us about 9 months before the actual sale happened to pull back the curtain and let our employees and our customers and our other stakeholders know that we were up for sale and we were probably going to sell the company. Now, where the benefits of ethical leadership and a strong ethical culture came into play was the fact that we were honest with our employees. We were upfront with them. We actually had the CEO of the company that was buying us come, and him and I both presented meetings at each of our stores, told them everything we could factually tell them about what was going on. And bottom line is, they believed us when we said this should work out well for employees. We feel like there should be good match on the wages and benefits. If nothing else, they might even be a little better, things like that. And people believed us, which means that we didn't have a big exodus of employees. We didn't have a big exodus of customers. When we talked with our customers, we were able to give them those same types of assurances. I don't recall of any employee or any customer, significant customer relationship that we lost during that 9-month period, and even during the actual sale process itself. So that was a huge benefit for us, because had we started having key employees exit the business, or even key customers discontinue their relationships with the business, it could have jeopardized the entire sale. So there can be some really substantial and really financial significant benefits of ethical leadership and structures. Conflict management styles have competing and collaborating, avoiding and accommodating. One of the things that all of those are in play at times. They just have to be in a business situation, but hopefully people can work towards the middle in all of those and find compromise and find ways to craft and make win-wins instead of painting themselves into win-lose corners. Ethical leaders and employee empowerment. Ethical leaders should empower employees to make ethical decisions and be responsible for their conduct. Employee empowerment is essential to create a values-based organizational culture, and values-based culture encourages employees to express concerns, bring up ethical issues, and resolve conflicts. Interpersonal communication, small group communication, nonverbal communication, and listening are the 4 categories of communication. A couple that I would really emphasize to key in on is nonverbal communication and listening. Many people pay attention to the main communication groups, but sometimes they forget the nonverbal and the importance of listening. Leader-follower relationships. Communication is essential to build these. Leader-follower congruence, when leaders and followers share the same vision, ethical expectations, and objectives for the company. This helps leaders avoid social isolation, and that way they get good information. Ethics programs and communication. We talked about ethical programs, codes of ethics, ethical training. And these can be formal and informal. Formal communication and training devices. All of them can be very important in an organization. And then finally, getting feedback. Employee to leader feedback is going to be essential. Leaders should strike a balance in providing positive and negative feedback to employees. Ways to generate employee feedback, and it's never been easier than it is right now. Interviews, anonymous surveys, ethical audits, websites, things like that. Leadership styles and ethical decisions. Styles that build strong organization values among employees contribute to shared standards of conduct, attributes of leadership, character, stewardship, and experience. Emotional intelligence, you hear this a lot, the ability to manage oneself and one's relationships with others. Understanding not only your own emotions, but those of others, and how to balance all of that. The types of leaders: transactional, transformational, and authentic leader. A lot of leaders are transactional. You do something for me, I do something for you. The evolved leaders get to be transformational and authentic leaders. Okay, that is the PowerPoints for today. I wanted to go through those just a little bit. Again, this is a very important topic. It's kind of the foundation of business ethics in a way. It's a large part of the landscape. So I am including a couple of videos today. One is by a professor talking about a little bit more about the definition and identification of 3 key elements of ethical leadership. And another one was from Simon Sinek on why and how people, leaders, make us feel safe, which comes down in large part to ethical leadership as well. So I think that's it for today. I hope you all have a great week. Please stay safe, and let's get this thing into the finish line. Just about 3.5 weeks to go. And let me know if I can do anything for you and help out. Thank you all.